acknowledge the presence of a very important man who just walked in, the Dr. Gallon, who is a school board member, Miami-Dade County. Thank you very much, and this is a guy who's proven himself. He proved himself once more after Irma or during Irma. He helped us, get shelters. Went beyond the bull, no, not the bull, not the bull, whatever. How about the bureaucratic, not the bull, bureaucratic. Yeah, bureaucratic crap.
Yes. And Mr. Mayor, if you just
so he's this is a guy who's very dynamic. He's a rambunctious gentleman, and I didn't know you were, but kudos to you. That's all I can say.
1 second, Mr. Mayor. I must say Dr. Gallon has been a champion for North Miami since you got elected, and it's so refreshing because now not only there's a partner that we could you could come forward, Mr. Dr. Gallon, but yeah, there's not an issue that he doesn't call us and we've been dealing a lot back and forth with some stuff, and I'm on the phone with him, if it's not every day, about one of the schools in North Miami, about the wonderful things that he is doing, and we have a voice at the table, so thank you, Dr. Gallon, just to say that.
Yes. Also, I want to thank School Board Member Steve Gallon for doing such a great job and helping CAGNY. That's a project we've been working for years, but with his support, and we are moving forward. Hopefully, in 1 year or so, we can have our Olympic swimming pool at CAGNY.
Thank you.
And thank you very much. Talking about the city manager, and everybody is happy that Mr. Larry Spring has been doing a great job for the city of North Miami. Unfortunately, no one give me credit for being the first person when nobody know about him that interview him for the job. Is it true, Mr.? And you got my support again. Thank you.
Councilwoman.
Thank you. I've been watching our city council not missed a meeting for about a dozen years, both up here for 4.5 and sitting in the audience. And like a couple people said, we were a city in chaos. And we are no longer a city in chaos. The city employee morale is the highest it's been in years because it was really low. And if you have happy city employees, they're making our residents happy and they're doing a good job. The contacts that Mr. Spring has throughout the city, county, state, there are a lot of things beyond the four corners of this city that we need, and we need help from other people. And, oh, I know this person, oh, I'm friends with this person, I'm on a board with this person. He knows his contacts are invaluable to us, and it's been helping us. He has integrity. I trust him. He has taught me a lot. As your councilwoman, I sit with Mr. Spring at least 2 hours every week. He's available to me by phone.
Yeah, he calls me after these meetings.
Right. Yeah. I keep him late, but I can call him on a Saturday
night. Oh, Mr.
Mayor,
Mayor, she did it again.
Saturday night, Sunday morning, Saturday morning. We talk, of course, and he is available to me as your councilwoman 24 hours a day. And that's important if you have a problem, because there's things on the weekend that happen that we need to address. So he's done that. His financial experience and working knowledge is just so valuable, and that's where the money comes from. Anybody who's sitting there penny pinching for $10,000, $20,000, I can tell you that there was an item on this consent agenda we were getting to approve yesterday. That was our insurance. Because he did not feel it was good enough, even after it was already on there. In the last 24 hours, he saved our city $140,000. If that didn't pay for his raise and the raise of our attorney, I mean, but that's one little item on a consent agenda. This is on daily basis. He is saving the city hundreds of thousands of dollars. He has more than earned his salary. So thank you for the excellent job. You have my support. And as far as the attorney goes, yes, our attorney will also get a raise. And I will say that our city attorney is the best attorney we have had for so many years. As an attorney, I have questioned all of them. I have not agreed with most opinions of former attorneys. I think they've even been bad. We won't go there. But when my city attorney gives me a legal opinion, that's it. I take it, whether I agree with it or not, we discuss it, but I have total confidence that he is giving a real legal opinion. He's not giving an opinion that somebody up here wants to hear. He's telling us exactly what's right. It's not a political answer. And Mr. Kuzo, he deserves any raise also. I think he's probably saved us a lot of money in outside fees and counsel because he really knows what he's doing. So I'm in favor of giving both a raise. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, mine is very short. I mean, I don't really want to give you a raise. I mean, I don't want to spend the extra money. But whenever it comes to making decisions on this dais, I always look as a businessman, a private physician who has employees. And I've lost many good employees because I've been stingy. And I've gone back and tried to get them back, and because I'm realizing that I could have been making millions of dollars with them. But, once the egg drops, it breaks and you can't put it back in the shell. So I did not vote for you, Mr. Spring, and you know it. But just like sometimes people don't marry their first love. I didn't marry my first girlfriend, and I'm happy that I didn't. That being said, I mean, you deserve, what you're asking for. It's like going to the dealership, You want a 2017, you pay for a 2017. You want a Mercedes-Benz, you pay for a Mercedes-Benz. But if you want I won't say, a lower quality car, then you pay for a lower quality car. Then you feel every bump that you go over in the street. So, Mr. Larry Spring, I must tell you, he's a Bentley. He is a Bentley.
Why not a Mercedes?
No, Bentley is higher
Oh
than
my
me.
God.
But see, I do have a Mercedes-Benz, but
Okay.
you're a Bentley. So I must tell you, good things don't come cheap, okay? And good things don't come cheap. So you have to pay for what you want, and we are paying for you to stay because you are that good. Huh? Make sure you pay me for saying that. Mr. Clerk, actually, we need a motion.
Move approval of the item.
Second.
I have a motion made by Vice Mayor Galvin to approve tab H as is. The motion was seconded by Councilman Desime. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab I. Tab I, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, authorizing the city manager and city attorney to execute a third option to renew professional services agreement in substantially the attached form between the city of North Miami and Brown & Brown, Florida, Inc., DBA, T.R. Jones and Company for the continuation of access workers' compensation insurance coverage services as required by Florida law at the annualized premium amount of $150,087, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Staff?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Karen Muir, Risk Manager. And this is essentially just renewing the insurance we had last year. Everything is the same. The premium went up a little bit, and that is not because of rate increases by the company, but basically internal payrolls and so forth. This is a guaranteed renewal for the next 2-year period as well.
Okay, at this time we will entertain public hearing on the item. Item I, as in I am, will I am. I see no one coming to the mic, so public hearing is closed.
Move approval.
Second?
I have a motion made by Vice Mayor Galvin to approve tab I. The motion was seconded by Mayor Smith Joseph. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab J. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, authorizing the city manager to execute a third option to renew professional services agreement in substantially the attached form between the city of North Miami and Risk Management Associates, Inc., DBA Public Risk Insurance Agency for the continuation of police professional liability insurance coverage services as required by Florida law at the annualized premium amount of $194,799, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. And that was tab J.
Yes, and this is renewal of the the police professional liability insurance, and this is a third-year option to renew with the same broker. The coverage is basically the same as we had for the last 3 years, and there was an increase of approximately 11% in the 11.8 rather in the premium, and that was because of the loss ratio and so forth.
And that's
But
typical?
Otherwise, everything is good. Yes, everything is pretty much the same as the expiring policy. We did a cost-benefit analysis, even though there was a lower premium proposed. This one proved to be most cost-effective in the long run. So if we went with a lower, we would still be losing out in the long run if we went with a lower premium. So this is the recommendation.
Is this paid on a monthly installment or on a
Annually.
lump sum annual
Annual.
lump sum
Correct.
payment? Okay. Public hearing is open on the item. No one coming to the mic.
Karen, I have one.
Public hearing is closed.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I
Go
think
ahead.
you were closing. I have one question. Can you repeat to say why the increase of the 11% again?
It was just purely because of the losses that we've had for the.
Oh,
past
okay,
years.
overall as a city. Okay, thank you.
We need a motion.
Move approval. Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Desiree to approve tab J. The motion was seconded by Vice Mayor Galvin.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab K. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, approving a final plat entitled East of 5th Townhomes, as described in Exhibit 1, for the replate of lots 15 and 16 and portions of lots 14 and 17 and Block 8 of Griffin Biscayne Park Estates, as recorded in Plat Book 5, page 107 of the Public Records of Miami-Dade County, Florida, lying in the southwest 1/4 of Section 30, Township 52 South, Range 42 East, and legally identified with Miami-Dade County folio numbers 06-2230, 031, 0150, and 06-2230, 031, 0160 into 20 separately platted townhouses, lots, in accordance with Article 3, Division 8, Section 3-806 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, Land Development Regulations, Section 28-8 of the Miami-Dade County Code of Ordinances, and Sections 177-071 through 177.091 of the Florida Statutes 2017, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. That was tab K.
What's the street
Thank you.
address? What's the street address on that? Oh, here it is. I got it. 121 Northeast 5th. I got it.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the record, Tanya Wilson Chajor, Planning Director with Community Planning and Development. The request before you is for an approval of a final plat. This is for a .92 acre site located at the intersection of Northeast 5th Avenue and Northeast 121st Street. The Mayor and Council will recall back in January of this year, the tentative plat came before you for the approval of 20 townhome lots as required by our code and as required by Chapter 20 of Miami-Dade County Code. The tentative plat was submitted to the Miami-Dade County Plat Committee. Since then, the application has been unanimously approved without conditions. And as our code requires, the final plat is now back before you for the final stage of the approval process. So the resolution, if approved, would allow for the project to move forward with the development of the site of the 20 townhouse units.
Okay, so we voted on the same thing we voted. I mean, this is a different vote, or what is it?
It's part two of the process. The planning
typical.
process has the tentative plat stage. You review it, it goes down to Miami-Dade County
Then come
Plat
back.
Committee, and it has to come back to you for
Okay.
the final approval.
Cool. Public hearing is now open on the item. Item, what is it, L? K as in kite. That's the way you spell kite, with a K? Okay, that's safe. Public hearing is now closed. Members of the dais?
Is the applicant here this evening?
The applicant is not here. We have an agent for the applicant that's here.
Okay. So, we heard this back in January,
Correct,
This
for the
year.
tentative plat.
and we brought up some issues. First of all, the Board of Adjustment gave this property a variance because the size of, what is it, 6 or is it 8 units per?
It's 6.
Okay, so you're allowed 6 units, and we've given this property a variance to allow 12.
Correct.
So the length of these units clustered in one building is 12, twice what's normally allowed by the code, the city code. One of the reasons I'm concerned is we have other townhouse units in the city that are not governed by a homeowners association or a condo association. So if you have a bad neighbor in the 3rd unit and you've got termites, there's nothing forcing you or helping you to get your unit fumigated, because you have to fumigate the entire building. If your neighbor's roof, there's damage to it and it's rotting and it's falling in and affecting your roof without an association, there's nothing you can do other than suing your neighbor to do something. If the property next to you is in a bank foreclosure and it's just going to hell, other than code enforcement, you're stuck with someone like this. So we discussed the condo association, and the applicant stood up here, because I went back and watched the tape this week, and he says, oh yes, of course we're gonna do a condo association. Well, you can't do a condo association when you're doing a plat. So since they're going for a plat, condo is out of the question. So my question to my attorney, which we've discussed, is what can we do, at the very least, impose that the developer, whether it's going to be a conditional use, I don't know what is going to happen when they start building, what kind of plans, but to impose a requirement that they have an association so that they do collect maybe maintenance for the common areas, and they do have voting rights, that if someone, just to take care of this, maybe a common roof, maybe insurance for the entire property. But, I mean, that's what homeowners associations address. But right now, having 12 fee simple units attached to each other is really a disaster. And people buying this, they say, oh, what a pretty new apartment, I want it. They have no idea, the layman has no idea what is in store for them down the road when they have a problem with their neighbor.
So, Councilwoman, following our discussion, I looked into it, and as you know, I was uncomfortable with the idea of imposing a requirement to set up either a condominium or a homeowners association, because those are governed by the state. Having looked at it following our discussion, I think the best way to handle this is to set up a condition, as a condition of approval, requiring that a mechanism be set up by the developer to manage the common areas, and have that subject to the review of staff, and that way we'll get a chance, whatever they come up with, put it in their hands to come up with the ideas on how to manage the common areas, and we'll review that before.
So there would be common areas. Would the roof be considered a
That
common
would be
area?
a common area. I
And
mean,
what about fumigation and termites? And
let them come back to us.
Okay.
Make it a condition, make them come back to us, and hopefully they'll be able to satisfy all of your concerns.
so, if there's not further discussion, or we can have it, I would make a motion to approve the plat with the conditions as stated by our attorney.
Okay, and I'll second that.
So I have a motion made by Councilwoman Keys to approve tab K as amended on the record by Councilwoman Keys. That motion was seconded
And confirmed by our attorney.
and confirmed by the attorney, and that motion was seconded by Mayor Smith Joseph. This is a resolution, right? Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote.
L as in Larry.
Oh, man, I messed up here. Okay, tab L, as in Larry. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, authorizing the city manager to issue purchase orders to Allied Universal Corporation for a 1-year term in the aggregate amount not to exceed $107,000 for the purchase and delivery of sodium hypochlorite for the Winston Water Treatment Plant, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
We do that every year, right? And I think I did ask last year, is there any way that we can approve that in such a way that it doesn't keep coming back unless there is a change?
It's too much money.
Not too much money, it's gotta come? Okay.
107.
Okay. We got it. Public hearing is open to the public. Not public hearing. The item is open to the public. We're buying bleach from a company for $107,000. Public hearing is now closed. Anything from the dais? I move to accept the. Yeah, second.
Have a motion made by Councilman Desmay to approve tab L. The motion was seconded by Mayor Smith Joseph. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 4-0 vote, and when Councilman Galvin returns back to the dais, we'll record his vote. Tab M. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, authorizing the city manager to issue purchase orders to Lois Hoist North America of Alabama, LLC, for a term of 3 years in the aggregate amount not to exceed $270,000 on an annual basis for the purchase, delivery, and discharge of quicklime for the Winston Water Treatment Plant, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Same thing.
That was tab M. Mayor, is it okay if I record Councilman Galvin's vote now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Vote yes on the matter, and
tab
heads up
L.
to the police. As I ran down to my car real quick, I had a complaint that we have excess vehicles parked in the city council parking lot right outside the front doors.
Oh, mine.
They don't even let me go to my car and come back. Give me.
Actually, mine
For the
is
record,
on.
tab L was approved
So maybe
5-0.
it's
Councilman
possible.
Galvin recorded his vote. So, Mayor, I just read tab M on into the record.
Good. What was the question? On which one? Oh yeah, public hearing on M, because we're just buying stuff on an annual basis. These items come every year, so everyone who wishes to be heard on item M. I see no one coming to the mic, so public hearing is closed. I move to accept item M.
I have a motion made by Mayor Smith Joseph to approve tab M. That motion was seconded by Councilman Pianime.
I'm just saving you.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Item passes with a 4-0 vote. And when Councilman Desmay gets back, Mayor will record his vote. Tab N, proposed ordinance, first reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, amending chapter 7 of the North Miami Code of Ordinances entitled Finance by amending Article 3 entitled Procurement Code, specifically at sections 7-129A, 7-151, and 7-167 to provide clarification and guidance on procurement procedures, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for a codification, and for an effective date.
All right.
Mayor, Council, as you know, since I've gotten here, we've been treating the city code as a living document, and so when we find errors, mistakes, that sort of thing, we've been bringing these up to you as ordinances to change them. In this case, we're changing Procurement Code Division 3. The circumstances here are a couple of meetings ago, you all approved a procurement. It was a piggyback on false alarm systems. Following that approval, we got in a purported bid protest. Our code doesn't actually allow for bid protests or piggybacks, but I did take a look at what the lawyer was arguing, and he had a point. I thought it was a novel argument that I didn't necessarily agree with for a number of reasons. But he did bring up a good point, which is that our code, it says piggybacking, it limits us to piggybacking only on the lowest bids, which doesn't really make sense because it doesn't allow us to piggyback on RFQs, or in a case where another city procured a product or a service where they applied like a local preference. And so the bid wasn't the lowest, but it was the best bid. Piggybacking, the requirements for piggybacking is that you piggyback off a competitive process. He was focused on the word lowest. I was focused on the word competitive process. I don't think we did anything wrong, but in order to make sure that that issue never comes up again, we're taking the word lowest out so that we can piggyback off of any competitive process from another city.
Okay.
So that's one. And the other two changes that you see in the ordinance are actual errors in the ordinance. One of them is, and council, when I went back and looked at what we were talking about, the first one is section 7-1299. It says that approved change orders, that the manager has the authority to approve change orders and contract modifications for supplies and services, which it originally read, which exceed 25,000, which would be opposite what we said in other parts of the code. So we changed that to say do not exceed 25,000. And then the other section is under local business. Under local business, you have three requirements three requirements to show that someone is a local business. The way it read before, you had to show all three, which very few contractors or vendors would be able to show. One, you'd have to have a local business tax in the city, have a number of employees in the city, and I think the third one is and hire subcontractors in the city. And we'd never be able to meet that local business requirement if you required someone to do all three. So we've changed that to say satisfies one of the following.
Can we get two at least?
You can change that to two of the following if you'd like.
Yeah, I would like to get at
Yeah,
least two.
but to say three of the three,
Yeah.
and the procurement director could talk more about the difficulties he's faced on that. But we wanted to change that because three makes it almost impossible to meet the local business.
Well,
So-
good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Alberto Estrade, procurement director. My only comment or suggestion would be, before you vote, and obviously, certainly at your discretion, but if you look at each one of the criteria, each one of the factors to be considered local vendor, each one of them really stands on its own. In other words, the first one would be that you are a business that's located here within the city of North Miami. In other words, you have a business here, you have a tax receipt in the city of North Miami. So that pretty much speaks for itself. The second one would be that you could qualify if you hire at least 10% residents that reside within the city of North Miami. And obviously, they'd have to prove that, they have to document that, right? And the last one would be that you contract with a subcontractor who is situated within the city of North Miami, and you have to contract no less than 10% of the award of the contract. So when you consider each one of those criteria, they kind of stand on their own with regards to the council's decision and discretion as to granting the local vendor preference. And obviously it matters quite a bit because then you're entitled to a certain percentage for that local vendor preference.
Yeah, the reason I have a big problem with it is because they can get away with just, if we say only one criterion to be fulfilled, they can get away with just being in the city. That's it. And then they won't have to hire 10% of the employees or subcontract within the city, so that way the money can go out of the city anyway.
That's correct.
So I think 2 out of 3 is better than just one. It's page 3. Page,
Even though for big projects, what about if they cannot meet all?
Would apply to everything.
you would have to have every budget. Because if we say one, all they would have is just have the company have a city address, and they won't have to employ city employees.
Is this public hearing or this is us?
This is This is him, and
Oh,
then
okay,
we go to
yeah,
the
okay.
public.
I want to make a comment.
Public hearing is open on the item if anyone wishes to be heard. I see no one coming. I mean, you're not interested in? No, go ahead.
Yes,
Public
thank-
hearing is now closed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm a very big component, a champion when it comes to creating local jobs. And I missed part of the presentation, Mr. Estrada. So this item is to tighten our local preference. Item, yes, Mr.
It's
Attorney.
actually, and I'll
And
let
the
the attorney.
qualification of
Qualification.
the local preference, right? Instead of
It's
one
actually a
zero.
clarification. but
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, so initially it was brought to clear up an issue that arose from a purported bid protest. And that
Okay.
was to take out the language regarding we could only piggyback with the lowest. When we piggyback, we could only piggyback
With the lowest.
which isn't the case. That's not how piggyback works. You can piggyback off of any competitive bid. So we're taking out the word lowest so that you can continue to piggyback off of anything competitive. While we were doing that, there were other changes that made sense in the ordinance, which is what we just discussed. One, the one we're currently discussing, is the fact that on the local preference, somehow or another, when it was drafted, it says that you needed all three of those factors to be considered local. But when you look at it practically, to require someone to both have, to require someone to have a business location in the city, then hire 10% of its employees from the city, and then also require them to hire certain subcontractors.
Oh, okay, I
To
see.
make all three of those, it can't, I mean, when
It's
we read
two.
it can't be all three of those.
I
So
see.
We actually recommended one. I believe the mayor and vice mayor both said possibly two, so that's the discussion.
No,
we're
not
going on.
possibly. I like the idea of two. Mr. Estrada, let me ask you one question. Is that only for piggyback, or is it for all city contract?
No, when you piggyback on a contract, essentially, you're already piggybacking on a contract that's been competitively
No,
solicited.
I know.
So it wouldn't apply, it would only be on any other solicitations that the city issues.
So, because you know my thing with piggyback. So any contract you bring to us, this would apply to them.
Any contract that the city solicits,
That's what I'm saying.
that the city solicits.
Solicit. Oh, perfect. Okay.
Right.
I just wanted to make sure that I don't vote for this, which I'm very in supportive of, and then it says, oh, it's only for contract that we piggyback from. So it's any contract we solicit.
Yes, the city
Perfect.
solicits,
Thank you. You have my
regardless of
support.
the contract.
All right. Public hearing, did we open public hearing? Okay. Any
Mayor,
other
is it
comment?
okay if I register Councilman Desime's vote for the last item?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Councilman Desime, how do you vote on tab M?
Yes.
Tell me yes. What is time? Yeah.
To buy clothing for the
Buying,
border.
we were buying bleach
Oh, the bleach. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
and limestone and
Okay.
lime.
So item now passes with a 5-0 vote
Infiltrating.
with Councilman yes vote. Thank you, Mayor.
The water plant.
Tab O,
Chlorine,
O as in, oh my God.
Which tab?
Did we vote on tab N?
Did we vote?
No.
No, I need a
M?
motion.
N as in Nancy.
Oh, go ahead, let's
You
go.
jumped in while we were still in the midst of N, but we didn't actually vote on N.
Well, we did vote on M already. That was a vote he
And
made.
as in Nancy,
Well, he
Nancy.
was just
now we're
opening.
in
He was
Nancy.
just opening O, and we had not voted on N as
Okay,
in
let's go to
Nancy.
Nancy.
Right, we need a motion to
Nancy's
approve
better than
tab
Oscar.
N.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
So I have a motion made by Councilman Desme to approve tab N. That motion was seconded by Vice Mayor
you.
Galvin. I need a roll call vote here. So we have Vice Mayor Galvin, how do you
Yes.
vote? Councilwoman Keys?
Yes.
Councilman Bieneme?
Yes.
Councilman Desme?
Yes.
And Mayor Joseph?
Yes,
Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab O, proposed ordinance, first reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, authorizing the issuance, subject to the bond referendum herein provided for, of general obligation indebtedness in an aggregate principal amount without regard to original issue discount or premium not to exceed $135 million for the city of North Miami, Florida, for providing funds to finance the acquisition, construction, renovation, and improvement of various capital improvement projects payable from the full faith credit and ad valorem taxing power of the city, providing for and calling a bond referendum of the qualified electors of the city, providing for official ballots, providing for bond referendum procedures, and providing for an effective date. And that's taboo.
Council, this is the, I guess, the culmination of a lot of work that the staff has been doing. We've had a few workshops on this matter. We've been doing a lot of work, so we wanted to present this item. We have a brief presentation that the deputy will go through. I will then wrap up the presentation and then turn it back over to you.
Good evening, Arthur Sorey, Deputy City Manager. This evening, we're going to go through the...
Before you step, I should also acknowledge our city's bond counsel, Jolinda Herring from Brian Miller Olive is present. Thank you.
You can stand up.
Arthur Sorey, Deputy City Manager. So tonight we're going to review and go over the bond projects and just some of the process of the bond. The total proposed bond tonight, the bond referendum, is $135 million. 101.3 million would be for public facilities, and I'll go into each of these categories in more in depth as we move forward. Infrastructure, $28.1 million, and technology, $5.4 million. The first question, there are going to be three questions. We're proposing for three questions to be in the referendum. The first question is public facilities. Shall the city of North Miami, Florida issue bonds in one of the more series not exceeding the aggregate principal of $101,360,000, bearing rates not exceeding the maximum legal rate? And I'll skip down. Pledging the city's ad valorem tax revenues to finance the acquisition, renovation, and improvement of various public and recreational facilities, projects, governmental complex, parking garage, community centers, senior centers, a new sports complex, and other park improvements. And then, of course, it'll be yes or no. Here's an outline of some of the new public facilities, which are not necessarily new, but replacement of some of our current facilities. These are 5 community centers within the city, all built back in the 1950s. If you have visited any of them, you'll know they're old and outdated and in need of replacement. And they do expand across citywide. Improvement to existing parks. A new Ben Franklin. I know Ben Franklin Elementary School is supposed to be redone, and we putting money aside so we don't fall into the same place we fell with Cagney Park, not having the money there once the school is done. This will have the money for the bond ready immediately to be used to fix the park as soon as the new school is developed. Claw Pepper Park improvements. This is to improve and redo all Claw Pepper Park. No, we spoke about the building in the middle that is in need of rehab. This would actually tear the building down, build new buildings, and then even extend onto the far west corner of Pepper Park, the vacant land that's there. And North Miami Stadium upgrades. The stadium is in extreme dire need of upgrading. A new Nomi Center is a possible project. And let me say, Nomi Center would be City Hall, but it would be to our south. We have a bunch of trailers that staff, many of our staff people were busting out the seams here in City Hall. This new building would accommodate everybody in one building. MOCA expansion and public art. So when you look at the map, you do see that all the public facilities, what we've put in place, spans across the entire city. Every district will have upgrades done in their district with this first ballot question. The breakdown for public facilities. Nomi Center, $30.5 million. New Griffin Senior Center, 5.2 million. 16.5 would be for the Boca expansion. The 29.7 is for all of the parks improvements. And the $19.3 million is for, and I don't, my category thing erased on me, I'm sorry.
Is it safe to say that these numbers are not written in stone, that they may change?
It's safe to say, and this is the next slide that I'm showing now. It's safe to say that the community centers, including the Griffith Center and the parks, numbers can be changed to, take a little out, move it around, or if we want to add another facility, we take a little from each facility and maybe add another facility or do some extra stuff at another park. And that's, would be those that are fluid that we can make adjustments to. And that would be, as the manager go into later, when we have public discussion or we get the more input from the council as you get feedback from your residents. The second question for the ballot is infrastructure. Again, shall the city issue bonds in the aggregate amount of $28.1 million? And this would be city's Avalon revenues to finance various infrastructure projects, including sidewalks, street resurfacing, landscaping, lighting, guard gates, green space, and transit-related improvements. Citywide street improvements, street and sidewalk improvements. Every year we struggle with trying to find money in the budget to replace streets, repave streets, to do new sidewalks, and we're always around the $1 million mark. And I'll go into the details, but in the bond, it's approximately $18 million to be spent on resurfacing the streets and sidewalks, replacing or new sidewalks. The transit station. We had a presentation tonight that spoke of the new train system coming to North Miami. This, in conjunction with the funds budgeted in the CRA, will develop Transit Village in our city on 125th or wherever the stop in North Miami does lie. And then you have the new Keystone Point and San Souci guard gates. In this category, you have the $7.5 million for the Transit Village, $2.1 million for the guard gates, and $18.5 million for streets and sidewalk replacement. The last and final question is technology improvements. Should a city issue bonds in the amount of $5.4 million for various community policing and technology projects for safety, including police equipment, servers, Wi-Fi, security cameras, and broadcasting and emergency operations. The technology upgrades citywide would be city servers and Wi-Fi, security cameras that would tie into the police station where they can have a view on all of our community centers and other areas throughout the city. Some of the technology upgrades also, Shots Fired software, which is a program that triangulates wherever there's gunfire at, our police officers will know immediately when a gun fired and exactly where the gun was fired at. And it will be license plate readers, which would be placed at the major corridors. Anybody coming in the city, their license plate is scanned, and if there are any stolen cars or wanted vehicles that do come into our city, our police will be notified immediately. And there's the breakdown. The police technical equipment, 2,000. The servers is the $1.9 million, and the 1.5 is for the other equipment. How much does this cost?
You can drop that whole slide down. Again, and I had to do this the last time. Until we run, get a full financial run, I had to use a similar situated bond. You actually put that slide back up?
It's still there.
No, it's gone. Oh, thank you. So I found a issuance that was issued by the city of Jacksonville recently. It was $144 million bond refunding 30-year amortization, and it had an average debt annual debt payment of $8.1 million a year. For us, and we're a little bit less than that based on what I have here, that translates to $2.89 per $1,000 of value, or $289 for a house valued at $100,000. Keeping in mind, based on how we would issue this debt, we would not go out and issue $135 million at one time. Typically, when you're doing a capital financing of this nature, you're going to issue it in various tranches, and something like this could take the time of maybe 10 to perhaps 20 years to get it all delivered. So I figured, based on some of the bond programs I've seen, we'd probably have about a third of the debt issued at any one single time. So a number that would be a third of that, almost $300 per 100,000. As we go into our education mode, one of the things I know that Councilwoman Keys and you guys have asked for are debt tax calculators, and how much specifically where they can cost this, so someone could put the assessed value of their home and enter a number, and it'll give you a scenario. These are some of the tools we would build between now and an actual debt issuance. So just want to put some context and color around that number. I think you have the schedule right.
So again, these are the 3 questions that will be presented. Now we go into the timeline of moving forward with the bond. We're here tonight for the first reading, which is October 10th. If approved, we would look to advertise the referendum ordinance, which would take place 2 days from now. We would look to have the second reading on October 24th and have our bond referendum to the supervisor's election by October 27th. With that going, that puts us at a referendum election date. And of course, these are just preliminary numbers. It will be up to the board to determine when you would want to hold an election.
You.
Oh, yes. So it will be up to the board, but this is a sample timeline that we have laid out. It does go if the referendum is approved. We would look at probably around June 12th, 2018, if we stayed with this same exact timeline of closing on the sale of the bonds and beginning to start working on the projects.
Again, that's a flexible schedule based on the education period, the voting process, so on and so forth, so various factors. With that, again, I think we've like I said before, we've had a few workshops on this. This is something I know that Mayor has sponsored in this item, and I'll just turn it over to you for your discussion.
Before we have one of our council here, is it okay to ask over for a short synopsis of the way she sees it?
Hi, I'm Jolinda Herring with the law firm of Bryant Muller Olive, and I am your bond counsel, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Well, should we go to the public? I don't know. Which way?
Do we go
Public first and then
the council?
and then she can. Okay. Okay. At this time, let's open it to the public for public hearing. Please, everybody who wishes to be heard, please come forward so that we don't have to.
Ellen Abramson, 2345 Magnolia Drive. I should say I'm astonished. This is beyond belief that you would have, it's a Jewish word, chutzpah, to even bring this up without any figures. You take $1 million house in Keystone, which is not unusual. A lot is now $1 million. You're looking for almost $3,000 a year extra in taxes, which can hurt the market of people buying. But this whole paper, there is not 1 cent described about where this money is going. I don't want to hear it's going to parks. I want to know where it's going, how much you want to give to MOCA, how much you want to give to the Keystone Tot Lot. I want to know before you have the right to ask me to pay more. I've already done a 30-year bond with this city. A lot of people here haven't even been alive 30 years, but I've done a 30-year bond with this city. And I don't really want to do another 30 years. I won't be alive in 30 years, but there'll be plenty of people who will be. And you have the nerve to bring this to the public without saying what it's for. What are you spending this money for? You want to have a pretty entrance to Keystone and Sans Souci? How much? You want to do work at Cagney Park? How much? You want to do work at Enchanted Forest? How much? I saw some figure of about $5 or $6 million for the Keystone Tot Lot. What are they going to do? Relocate it to New York? I mean, this is lunacy. This makes absolutely no sense, and you have no right to ask or you have no right to approve this without financial information, and there is zilch when it comes to financial information. Thank you.
Jessica Alston, 1140 Northwest 125th Street. I absolutely stand in opposition to there being floating a bond loan for the city of North Miami. You say that it's going to be $135 million, but it was reported in the Miami Herald that the actual figure is $177 million to $196 million, which is the price for these projects. And this money, why wasn't this thought of? The city facilities were old when Solomia was being negotiated. Why wasn't that considered in the funds from Solomia? You fund all the projects, all these entertainment projects, handouts to nonprofits, these festivals that you have, that we have, because we're paying for it. What about that money? 30-year loan? 30-year loan? It is absolutely horrendous. Part of this you don't want to state. This has to do with that Chinatown thing. Because you said, I'm going to say it because it's my time to speak. You said Chinatown was going to bring investors into the city, but what it actually has, it has really disturbed trying to disturb all of our finances to make us pay for it. Citizens, we're not that stupid. I refuse to believe that we are that stupid, that we would vote and allow for a bond program like this. They knew about that. City Hall was 160 years was made in 1960 when the Solomia and all the other things were done. All the buildings were made then. They knew it was old then. This is nothing new. Please, wake up. Vote no. No bond.
Thank you very much, Ms. Alston.
Mr. Mayor and Council, City Manager and City Attorney. Jim Garrett, 11610 North Bayshore Drive. First, I want to correct something. Gwen Margolis Center was donated by Greenwich Norris Center in 1978. It was their sales center. And that was agreement for the city. The agreement was that the tower will go up, the big tower, and they will give us the sales center as a community center. Goodland Park Senior Citizen originally was a little one-story, it was like Biscayne Park's Village Hall. And it was built new in 1977. So I just want to correct the dates. It were not built in the 50s. Here we go on the thing, on the different issues. How can a city approve this when we have litigation with 4 lawsuits? Number one. That's number one. Number two, we have people here who are just trying to pay their water bill. I have my mom's tax bill, and I'm trying to find the $4,806 to pay it this year. I mean, I agree on some of these items, like MOCA, because that's an asset back there. Street sidewalks, and maybe we add street lamps, I agree with. I kind of agree with the tri-rail station. On the law enforcement, I've lived in Chicago for 13 years, and Mayor Daley he was getting back at the police union where he was putting up blue boxes and building this command center that looked like something from Channel 7 News Plus or Brandsmore. And he reduced the police thing. You're going over the limit with the millage. The millage right now is $7.50 as you got it published. There's $2.89 added. I don't care the math. There's inflation. It doesn't add up. We go over the millage. We'll be like Biscayne Park and El Patrol, and we will have to merge with the Shores. And I don't think the Shores would take us, and I don't think NMB would take us if we go over the millage and we go down the path of financial insolvency.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Hill, 13075 Griffin Boulevard. The audacity that the administration has to bring this ordinance in the completely flawed language that it's written in is astounding. I want to get into the details because the devil's always in the detail. 3 bond questions. The first one is $101,360,000, and it says a new sports complex. Is that referring to Cagney, which is already funded by $10.5 million in a previous bond that sits as an abandoned lot on 135th? Or are we going to have 2 of these sports facilities? If you're asking us for $101 million, don't you think we should know the details of your sports facility and if this is just a duplicate of the same facility we've already paid for? Second question, also with the first bond thing, it's so vague, various public and recreational facilities, such a huge amount of money. I think we deserve to know more of the details if we're being asked to triple our property taxes, triple them. Now, second question with the bond is $28 million. Why are we financing guard gates for Keystone and Sans Souci for 30 years? 30 years when we pay this money off, we're going to, guess what? We're going to need another guard gate. These are not the kinds of programs and projects that you should come to your citizens and ask us to finance over a long term. Same with sidewalks, street resurfacing, landscaping. In the 30 years, how many times are we going to do this? Don't we have part of our normal taxes that pay for these things? I know that we repaved Griffin Boulevard about a year ago, and it already looks like it needs to be repaved again soon. We're going to do it every year, but we're going to pay over 30 years for that? That's ridiculous. And then the third one, $5 million for servers and Wi-Fi.
Yeah, Ms. Hill, I'm sorry.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
This is a joke, and I urge everyone to vote no.
Judy Brown, 1100 Northwest 120 Terrace. I live in District 4, and I have heard staff announce from the podium where I stand many a times that my district is below the poverty level. And in spite of this fact, the city is proposing a general obligation bond that will surely increase the property tax for my people and everybody in North Miami. I have families, there's 2 or 3 families living in the same household trying to make ends meet. They cannot now, they are struggling to pay their monthly bills. They are standing in line, waiting for a lotto number for a can of paint or some money to assist them with the repairing of their roofs because water is coming in their homes. I have elderly people that's living in my district. And when I'm appalled to sit there and see that you're asking for 30 years for my seniors to be put up a guard gate at Keystone, and I did not see what is Sunkist getting out of this. I mean, if we're gonna put up a guard gate, I have the mayor came over in our city. He walked the streets, came in my home, and said, I'm gonna see about getting this street clean, this blight up, all this trash that when I first met him, he made that promise. I'm still waiting for that. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But not to get on that, long after this council is gone, the citizen is gonna be burdened down with this bond. I implore you to please do not do this because we just simply cannot. We're on fixed income. I'm on fixed income. I don't want someone to lose their home for a guard gate at Keystone Point, people. It's not worth it. It really isn't.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Howard Tonkin, 12600 Griffin Boulevard. When I bought my house, I had a policy of if it's not broken, don't fix it. That's how I managed to pay my bills and take care of my home week to week. Now, you want to take a bunch of community centers that like most of the city doesn't use anyway, perfectly good buildings, tear them down and build new buildings when we have so many other pressing issues in this city. Not that it's even about the money, but what gets me is I don't hear the word climate change, resiliency, sustainability, taking on these issues that are going to be the defining issues of our city in the future. What really bothers me is what was presented to us lacks any vision whatsoever for our city to evolve as a world-class city, as a kind of a city that has so much potential because so much of our city has been undeveloped. And all we get from $130 million is we're going to tear down the community centers, we're going to build a new city hall, and we're going to build a couple of parks and another sports complex and guard gates for the rich folks over in San Souci and Keystone. It's awful. Please do not vote for this. Thank you.
Hello, Marisol Medina, 1270 Northeast 124th Street. My concerns are with what oversight will be done to ensure that these things are done properly, that extensive money isn't, spewed out doing small things, because that's a huge thing. I mean, that happens in all cities, that money doesn't get managed properly. And I don't agree with the fast delivery of this voting process, and maybe the way that it's going to be executed. I don't like how fast it's all happening. The time frame feels very rushed. I really don't like this camera scanning license plate thing. Kind of feels like Big Brother's checking up on us a lot, and there's a lot of cameras more and more, and you never know who can hack into all of these lovely things that we like with our technology. And like Tompkins said, I agree with him. Where's the environmental aspect of all of this when climate change is affecting us and it's going to keep going? And if we don't manage where that water's flowing, because we did take over the Everglades, it's just going to get worse. The higher the building, the more people, the more weight. Everything should be kind of like the Chinatown theme, that there's got to be a spirit between the environment and the humans that live in it. Yeah, I'm all for the no's. Thank you. Maybe we should touch it again in a little bit.
Kenneth H. 776 Northeast on the 25th. When I came here in 1970, we had a bond issue, I think, for about $12 million on the Interama track, and it took us, I don't know how many years to pay that off. And then subsequently in the 70s, we were asking for bond issues, and they all went down in flame. In 1991, sadly, we lost Steve Bauer in the line of duty, and we were able to get a $5 million bond issue passed for a new police station. And we advertised it properly, and we got the public support. But they knew what they were getting. Just recently, we did the MOCA, and that went down in flames. People want to know what they're buying. And when I'm hearing from the citizenry out there right now, and I'm not going to taint it, people are just worried. They're saying, hey, we don't know what we're getting for this bond issue. We're going to go into debt, but what are we getting? A few years back, we were talking about the West Side Water Plant, and we were talking about the Biscayne Aquifer, and we were talking about the Florida Aquifer, and we were talking about saltwater intrusion, and we were talking about a reverse osmosis plant. Guys and ladies, ma'am, people that control the water control the future. No ifs, ands, and buts. I got an article here in the Military Engineer about water. I cut one thing out for you. See, I say water, that's from New York. It's water. Okay. People that control the water control the future. We can control the future, invest in your water plant, a reverse osmosis plant. Let me hand this out to you. This is out of the Military Engineer. What happened in San Diego? They made a plant out there, reverse osmosis, and now they have plenty of water. We're going to lose this. If we don't have this, the water to give to our citizens, what do we have? What kind of a future do we have? Think about that for a second. This is maybe where we should put a bond issue.
Good evening. My name is Virginia Gilmore, 1635 Northwest 120th Street. I'm in the Sunkist Grove area where Judith lived. If you guys put this much money, $289 $289 on a $100,000 mortgage, Suncis Grove is going to be a ghost town. Because people are on fixed income, and there's going to be a lot of foreclosures. And that's going to bring in a lot of crime, a lot of prostitution. I will start a petition if I have to in Suncis Grove with all the neighbors, if it takes me day and night, not to get this passed. I will get a group of residents, sign a petition, and take this off the ballot. And please, council members, please do not do this to the city of North Miami. Thank you.
Bob Bashan, 13005 Coronado Terrace. I think everybody agrees the city needs things, and there's no shortage of that list. It could be technology, it could be sidewalks, it could be maybe bury the electrical lines so that everybody doesn't run out of power when the next storm comes by. But whatever it is, I think people want to know what they're buying. And when we look at a bill for $101.36 million for facilities, it doesn't tell anybody anything. And I think the cart may be in front of the horse here. And if you want to get anybody in the tent or on the train or whatever you want to use for a metaphor here, I think there needs to be a greater explanation about what they're buying. Because will I pay $10 for that? Sure. Will I pay $100 for the same thing? No. And nobody knows what they're getting for what they're spending. And that seems to be the common cry from everybody in the room. So I would urge the council to please consider doing that before you tell everybody, well, we're going to vote on it anyway. Thank you.
How you doing? I live at 355 Northeast 127th Street, District 2. About a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we put all the new sidewalks with the half-penny sales tax we had around my neighborhood. We threw the cracked sidewalks. Well, the new contractor came by and threw it at 3 inches. Guess what? That's illegal. It's supposed to be 4 inches. I just threw my driveway. The city came and told me, no, your sidewalk is wrong. It's 3 inches. You have to break it down and put it at 4 inches because that's the compliance. So here we're going. We had a contractor putting new sidewalk at 3 inches when it's really supposed to be 4 inches. We did this about 2.5 years ago in my neighborhood. They broke all of the bad sidewalks and put them brand new, but at 3 inches, not 4 like the county's supposed, like the city's supposed to have it. So we're throwing our money away. Thank you. So I'm against it.
William Welsh, 1180 Northeast 118th Road. Most of you don't know this. I was a stockbroker for 28 years. What I've seen on this bond issue is atrocious. No wonder why everybody's upset. You really, for a fiduciary responsibility, need to have a breakdown of what all these millions of dollars are going for. I secondly believe, as in most cities, you don't split up a bond issue like this where the whole thing is needed. You need to have one vote for the entire amount of money. Splitting it up is only going to get you piecemeal, and it will not do anything for the city but spend a lot of money and create a lot of heartaches for the people. Either do the whole thing or none. That would be the biggest advice. Also, just a couple of months ago, there was a discussion about a $235 trash bill, putting it on the mortgage. And the council voted no because people couldn't afford $235. How are some of these people going to afford an increasing, if housing prices go up, amount of money put on their taxes to pay for this bond issue every year? It will only either be A, prices of houses go down, which means less revenue for the city, which means our cap rate for taxing the people will be pushed up to the limit, and we will either have to make cuts in city services or other things, or you're going to have a lot of foreclosures again and having other problems. I'm somewhat fortunate, but we need to think about the people that are on fixed income about the people that this could dramatically hurt and the people who can't pay their water bills.
All right.
Do not do the bond issue if you have any self-esteem.
Hector Medina, 1270 Northeast, 124th. Of course, I mean, if you put this to a vote, you're just wasting money, taxpayer money, because it's going to be defeated. And I'm looking forward to defeat this council if they put this on the ballot. It'll help me. So go ahead.
Good evening, Kevin Burns, 2065 Alamanda Drive. I'm a firm believer it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And you're already starting off wrong. It's going to take you 3 months to pick up the hurricane debris, yet you want the residents to vote for $135 million worth of new debt in 60 to 90 days, and by mail. Don't forget you have Thanksgiving, you got Christmas. I'm not going to get into the what's right or wrong or what's needed, because the list would go on and on and on. But all of a sudden you're going to try to introduce a mail-in ballot to the residents who's never done that here. You want to introduce this amount of money in such a small period of time and then educate the people what it's going to cost? We have, Carol, you voted and you led the charge against the MOCA bond because you said $75 additional on the people's $100,000, possibly $75 more for every $100,000 value was an unknown. It could go higher. And that was only for $12, $15 million when MOCA was at the top of its game. And the community did not trust the council and the administration to administer the construction. Now that MOCA is just a shell of what it is and does need investment, you expect the people to vote for this. This is not the way you do it. You must educate the people first. Let them know what you're going to do and how you're going to spend it. At least Chinatown has renderings in what you may or may not be doing. But folks, to try to get people to vote by mail within 90 days is deceptive. It is not going to be looked upon very well. And, 3 of you up there won't be there in 18 months before the first building is even built. So don't let this be your legacy. We cannot afford it the way it is at this particular time. Not
All
that
right.
we don't need lots of new infrastructure, but not this
Thank you.
process.
Thank you.
Good evening, Beverly Hilton, 12495 Northwest 6th Avenue. Not to repeat, because everyone here is against the bond, but I think you're forgetting where you are, North Miami. Some of our residents cannot afford food. I have a school. I have students who come to the school early because they don't have lunch. They don't have breakfast. The parents can't afford it. And you want to put $300 per thousand on their mortgage. Think of the residents. We are the one who will be hang with this bill mortgage. One of the residents I spoke to earlier this week said, if this bill pass, we will refinance our homes and foreclose, and you'll have a ghost town. But it's true. We can't afford this. So please do not vote for this. Thank you.
Yeah, public hearing is closed because I see no one coming. Now we back to the dais. But before I would like to entertain the manager to make maybe a short explanation of some of the complaints that I've been hearing. Maybe we came short in explaining exactly what we're planning to build or to give to the people for the money we are asking.
Well, a couple of things. I'll comment on that. One, again, I think what we presented was we know we need to have flexibility on timelines, scopes of projects, and work with the community to get to that point. when you see the reason why some of these categories are the way they are is so that we can have that level of flexibility. When you talk about infrastructure, and yes, it says streets, sidewalks, improvements, those sustainability can be baked into that, just as an example. When you talk about a park project, right now, it may not be the exact same building that you see right now just being knocked down and replaced. It could be a whole new facility, a revenue generating facility. And so I just, I want the community to understand and know that our plan is not to be, and I've done several of these, we can't not be transparent in the process like this. We have to go back out. We have to do an education for everyone, and that's the commitment that we can make as an administration. At the end of the day, I take my direction from the 5 of you, and we're here to work.
There was a question of resiliency.
That can be built into each of the buildings as they are built and into the infrastructure. So for instance, we were out, Carol and I were out with Public Works out on 124th, which I think you went through.
In
the
Keystone,
yeah. We saw how the water's pushing back up. And so pump stations and things of that nature are things that would be considered in the infrastructure category. But those are scopes that we have to work on, work with you, work with the community to figure those things out. But it would have to be done, obviously, before we go to a referendum vote. So it is about timing.
How many town hall meetings have we had on this?
Prior to today, we've done, I know we had 2 public workshops that we did on Saturdays, and we met with 4 or 5 of the homeowner associations, and kind of started going through process and stuff. But it's going to take more. We're not done, I guess is the best way to say it. If it is the council's wish to move forward, we're not done. It's a process.